and getting it out. Got one. Look at that, right off the bat. Oh, they love this pattern. Hi, Peter Charles here, Hooked for Life Fly Fishing. And this is my second video talking about creating a sort of a Euro-style nymph for use in fishing for smallmouth. Now, this is sort of an approximation of a hex nymph. And it's designed to, the way I'm tying it right here, more of a dropper fly than a point fly. I haven't put a lot of lead on this one. If I was to want to use this as a point fly, I might think of tying it on more of a jig hook and adding more lead. Because if you're going to be running it right along the bottom, having a jig hook is a better way to go. You're much less likely to snag up. But, you know, I'm approaching this one more in the idea of it being the dropper fly. And I'm tying it for smallmouth. I mean, you could use this for carp. You could use it for trout. No problem there. I probably even would catch panfish for that matter. But I've got Euro nymphing for smallmouth in mind when I'm putting this together. So let's take a look at materials. And I'll get my glasses on here so I can see what I'm doing. First off, I'm using a Daiichi 1870 wet nymph hook. I love this hook. I love the profile of this hook. It's got some real character to it. So you'll see me using this on a number of patterns. Now, I'm using a size 4 here because I'm looking at having a relatively large nymph. I'm going to use some lead wire on the body. And I'm using these slotted beads. These are 4mm slotted beads. As the bead for this fly. They're made out of tungsten. They're quite heavy. They're Euro nymphing beads. You need a slotted bead to get around that gape because the gape bend is quite small radius. So if you try to put a regular bead on it, it won't go on. My thread is this dark brown in uni. It's 6/0. Pretty well any brown thread. The tail is going to be deer hair. And we do that because deer hair is hollow, so when I cinch down on it, it's going to splay, which is what I want. If you look at the tails of hex nymphs, they're splayed out. You've got 3 of them. Fish can't count, so if you've got 4, 5, or 6, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be putting on some gold wire for the body. The body is going to be made out of this uni mohair in beige. You pick the color. I mean, I pick mohair because I find it easy to use. And it's quite fluffy, and it looks quite buggy. But you could use dubbing. Rabbit dubbing would be fine. You know, if you want to dub this, not a problem. Maybe even chenille, you know, yarn. Number of choices. I'm going with mohair. My rubber legs are going to be this variegated style. That's important. You want a division. If you look at insect legs, you'll see these divisions in them. And the legs on hex nymphs tend to be rather light colored compared to the body. So I'm going with something a little lighter. And the wing case, I'm just going to use some turkey quill for the wing case. Okay, let's get started by putting a little bit of glue on here. I'm going to shove this lead into the bead and push the bead up against the eye. So I'm going to start with a little bit of glue. And don't get your finger stuck. What you want to do is have the bead well lined up. So you don't want your bead positioned in such a way that it's offset, because then it makes everything sort of lean over. Okay, next we're going to put on our brown thread. And I'm just going to come forward in wide turns to cover up that lead. And bring your thread all the way past the bend. Now, if you want, you can put a little bit of a bump in here. That helps to splay the deer hair. And then just bring your thread back from that bump. Now I've put my deer hair in a stacker. I want the points aligned. You can see how it cinches everything down, causes everything to display. Now I'll just pick these out and cut them off. There we go. Now we'll put in our wire. Now our mohair. Now what I tend to do is I like to bring this forward and pull my mohair back and then bring it back. It adds a little extra bulk, but who cares on this fly? Now bring your mohair all the way back to the tail. There we go. Now bring that forward. And I fold it back so it doesn't mess up. Because sometimes with the mohair you get strays going forward all the time and it gets to be a nuisance after a while. Now when you're working with mohair, it's not a bad idea to spin it. So when you turn it around, it doesn't flare out too much. Keeps it a little bit more under control if you spin it. I'm going to bring it up almost to the lead and bring it back. See, I forgot to spin that bit. Let's spin that a bit more. You can see it starts to unravel a little bit if you are a little careless with it and don't spin it. Okay, what we're going to do is just going to wind this off here, but we'll leave it dangling. Put a couple of turns in, get the thread out of the way. Now we're going to take our wire. Now it's helpful to put hackle pliers on wire so you can keep control of it. It doesn't spin out of your hands. Now one thing I'm going to do is turn this in relatively closely spaced wraps. And I'm digging it in. I'm really putting pressure on here. There we go. One more. Okay, now bring my thread back and I'll lock in the wire. Now it's time for our quill. Be generous with this. I don't mind if it sort of comes apart a little bit. I'm not fussy about that sort of thing. I just need something that resembles a wing case. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to put a few wraps of mohair just in front, because now we're going to do our legs. Okay, I put a little bit of mohair so it helps to make the legs stand up away from the body. So I'm just going to put that in there. Just a couple of wraps. I'll trim these later to get the size I want. This is a very flexible leg. And this is this kind of leg that's very flexible is good in slower water. If you're going to be employing this in faster water, use a stiffer material, which will do a better job of vibrating in fast water. But since this is going to be more of a slow water pattern or moderate flow pattern, I'm going to go with kind of a softer leg. Okay, now we're just going to put a little glue in here. I'll hold everything all together. Get my thread out of the way. Now I'm just going to put a wrap behind the legs. And I'm going to come in, just keep spinning on this. Come in between the legs. Keep pulling your legs, out to the sides, because they will want to get wrapped in. Now we'll come around in front where the bead is. See if we can get one more in there. Well, let's spin that up a bit. Okay, there we go. Let's get that out of the way. Keep your legs from getting trapped. Now, just pull it down. It's good embedded. And the final step is just to fold over that wing case. And roll your bind down. And we'll just trim this off. If you've got any strays from the mohair, now's a good time to get rid of them. Be careful not to cut your legs. Get that out of the way. Got some good tight wraps in there. Now we can come in and put a little bit of, I got some, there we go, pull that leg out. Got a little bit of crazy glue in there. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to bring these legs back and bring them up to about the back of the body. It's a good idea to pick a spot as a measurement to get your legs about right. One of the hazards of using glue, sometimes your legs will get a little bit bent, but bottom line, it really doesn't matter all that much if one leg is a little bit more bent back than the others. So there is our hex nymph for smallmouth. One last thing we can do is take something like this gun cleaning brush and pick out the sides. Just do the sides. And that's the reason why we had those tight wraps, narrowly spaced wraps of copper wire, no, sorry, I should say gold wire, is I'm brushing between those to give the effect of gills. If you ever look at pictures of hex nymphs, you see they've got a lot of gills, so, and they're quite noticeable. So, there we go. So now we've got hex nymph gills just by using a little gun cleaning brush or a good stiff toothbrush, anything of that nature, just to pick that out. You could do it with your bodkin too. And there is our hex nymph for smallmouth. It's a Euro style. It's designed to, in this one, as I say, I'm designing to use it as a dropper fly, adding more weight, putting it on a jig hook, and you turn it into the point fly. In next little while, I'm going to go out and take these fishing. The Euro Twitch nymph, I should say not nymph, but fly. And this one, I'll have the Twitch fly on the point, this one on the dropper, and we'll see if we do better than the last time I went out fishing for smallmouth Euro style. So, stay tuned. Cheers. Got him. Get him out here. Oh! I bet you broke me off.